How you doing, folks? It's Des Catties out in the shed. In this video it's basically answering a subscriber's suggestion, and it's from Chris V, and I'm just going to get his comment up now. So how's everyone been? Hope everyone's keeping okay, especially in these sort of trying times, as it were. Was out yesterday, and I thought it'd be a good sort of segue, if you like, to sort of answer Chris V's question. Now, Chris has said, "I love your commitment to constant improvement of your equipment." This was a reply from the video that I did, if you watched it, where I showed some modifications that I'd had made to my jacket. And also to my patrol sack. I always find out something new or inspiring in your methods. Those in brackets he's put those snap open D-rings. I've never seen them before. I will be getting some. I know getting out for an overnight right now is not an option. Maybe you could do a video on some of the prep you do for a 24 or 48 hour trip. Personally, I really enjoy the specifics and logistics of how other people prepare. Just another way to share and learn, and not going crazy looking at these walls. Okay, so there it is. So basically what I'm going to do in this video, as much as I do apologise for the squeakiness, Rosie is in the shed with me at the moment. She's sitting on one of my old roll mats and she's on heat, so she's obviously sort of just looking after herself. Anyway, so I was out yesterday, went out for a day, and I thought what I'd do, as I say, as a bit of a segue, is kind of talk about some of my mindset about some of the gear that I take out with me. I don't want it to end up like a gear loadout. It could end up that way, but it's not intentional, you know what I mean? You know, people are, you're asking sort of what gear I've got and everything else, and to share with you, and maybe my mindset onto the reason why I take certain things out of me what I do. But you know, it's just one of those things. Some people do like a nice gear loadout anyway. Now, there is obviously a set amount of gear that I take. You know, you could go on the principles of the 10 C's of what, sort of Dave Canterbury uses, or you could maybe use protection, location, acquiring food and water, and navigation, all that kind of stuff, if you want to go into some kind of survival mode, but at the end of the day, in my mindset, when I'm going out, if it's just for a day, if I'm going out for an overnight or 2 days, whatever it is, the first thing I'm going to look at is my clothing. It's what I'm standing up in. That is my immediate protection. Okay. At the moment here in the UK, we've been blessed with a lot of rain. It's very damp, it's very cold, being that it's that time of the year. Fortunately enough, we haven't had no snow, and it's not that I'm against snow. It's just that in this country, when we get snow, especially in my area, it's sort of everything comes to a standstill, and the sort of it all seems to become a little bit disorganised and all that sort of stuff. It's not like, say, going out to Canada or sort of parts of Northern Europe and such like. So so at the moment here in the UK, it's been a lot of rain, so obviously I will dress appropriately for that. So I'm going to wear obviously some sort of protection on the outside, so be it a waterproof jacket. I normally will have like this kind of gilet underneath, and then I will have a sort of a thin layered I'll have a thin layered hooded top, and then a base layer of merino wool. I will normally wear merino wool underpants, merino wool socks, and then I've got my Aku boots, and then obviously I'll wear a hat of choice depending on what it is. Inside the combat jacket pockets, or inside the combat jacket, I'm using the combat jacket at the moment. I haven't got the jacket. I've given it back to my mate Mac, and he's making one more final adjustment for me that I want put on the jacket. So with that, I've emptied everything out the pockets, and I'll put it into this bag in front of me. And what I'll do is I'll quickly just show you some of the bits that I actually have in my pockets. Now, I normally carry 2 pair of gloves in my pocket. In the pockets of my jacket, I normally carry a pair of these sort of black sort of nitrile type gloves, I suppose, if that's what they are. Normally I carry a pair of these simply because they're just handy for, just avoiding getting your hands totally crapped up and everything else when you're collecting wood and stuff like that. And then I also keep a pair of Sil Skins. These are Sil Skin Gloves, and these are sort of just waterproof, and they keep my hands warm. I kind of went on that kind of mindset when I did the 48-hour challenge. Did it a couple of years ago, and what I did was I took a pair of those old gloves, the black ones, just to use for collecting leaf leaf matter and everything else for doing all my dirty work. And then when I was going to bed of a night, because I only had a blanket, then I would put these gloves on just to keep my hands warm. Okay, my knife, okay, and my ferro rod. I also got that's just done a burden on the floor there. I also carry a little pot hanger, one that I made, okay. And then I've also got a toggle in there as well. So, because obviously sometimes as well, when I'm doing the videos, you've got to understand, folks, that some of this gear that I take out of me are obviously props. I obviously plan ahead what I'm going to do, because I'm obviously educating, entertaining or whatever, or just showing you different bits and pieces that I might use, give you some ideas and stuff like that. So some of this gear is potentially props, but a lot of it is obviously for practical use as well. I will carry, especially because the weather is the way it is at the moment, I'll have a couple of these recycled pots in there with the cotton wool and Vaseline, and I've also added some because I needed to stock up on the stuff for the stove indoors. I also put some Tiger Tims in there as well, these firelighters. These are great as well, because I will just take a lighter flame and then they'll just spark up lovely as well. And then I've obviously got one of those, I've got a couple of these sort of you know, the straws with the cotton wool and Vaseline inside. I also been carrying this ferro rod, the one that I got gifted by Gary from Connecticut backcountry, chap out in the States across the pond. I've got a little piece of leather, don't use it that much really, but I mean obviously you can see it has been used, but normally it's quite good to use as a little plate just to sort of like get my fire going, or if I want to use it for bow drill and stuff like that. Okay, this was given to me by Mac Tightwood. And then finally what I'll have in there as well is a little key ring. I've got a set of tweezers on now, okay, little torch, fox whistle that I have in green. I don't really understand why people have them in black and such like, unless you're in a sort of a tactical environment, you know, sort of within a civilian mindset. Even though I am ex-forces, I just think it makes sense to have something that's bright orange, bright green, whatever. So when you are in a little bit of stress, it's easier to find, even though it is attached to a key ring. It might potentially that you might not have that attached to a key ring, and then you're fumbling around trying to find one. Okay, and then I also keep a little can opener on there as well, one of those sort of, this isn't an army one, this is sort of like, you know, sort of not as good as the old army ones, but still, you know, still handy all the same. Okay, so that's sort of like some of the stuff that I'll have in my pockets of my jacket. And the other one item that I have been keeping in my jacket as well, which you would have been seeing in the videos as well, is some type of shelter. Either this one, or I've been using the orange shelter by Util. Okay, so I'm out of the picture now, and everything's onto my Steuben. So, you know, again, I'm often taking the Steuben out, whether it's for just a day trip or an overnighter, or secondly I'm using the patrol pack. Sometimes I use the carry more sack as well, but at the moment this one's packed up. And I've got the Agawa saw on the side there, the Boreal 21, but I've also got in there at the moment a saw blade. Now the reason why I put the saw blade in there is literally for a prop, because what I was going to do, I was actually going to do a bow saw, but I've actually bought the hazel. I've got myself a little bit of hazel, and what I might do in a future video is obviously use that to obviously bend it into place to make a bow saw when I'm out. So it kind of gives you an idea on what I'm saying about props and such like. So I've got my saw. Okay, I've got my wildlife hatchet the other side. Alright, if I turn it around you can see that there. Now the reason why I've got that rope on there, it's not to go climbing mountains or anything like that. It literally was because, again, in another video what I was going to do is just show you the sort of like crafting around with these pulley systems that I've been having to play around with, like this one for example. Okay, and I was just going to use it, I was just going to show it being used and make one while I was out, but I didn't get around to doing that. So it was nice kind of just to go and chill out and not actually sort of do some videoing for a change. So in the front I'll have my my stove in there, which is the Bushcraft Essentials one. I've got my fuel, which at the moment I'm using bioethanol. I've run out of meth, so I'm using bioethanol at the moment. This is one of those Vargo bottles. Obviously that's one naked. Alright, and then this is one that's got some sort of old sleeping mat material around it, and then I've taped it up just to give it a little bit more kind of protection from the cold, because obviously it can be a little bit of an issue sometimes lighting those liquids when the weather's quite cold. So as I say, I've got my the Bushcraft Essential stove in there. Let's get that back inside. That's always quite handy, because literally sometimes when I get out there, it's just nice to get a brew on straight away. And then in there, it literally is just the Transient Burner. And then obviously I've got some other little methods to use for the burner. I've got that little cross, which cost me something like, you know, £1.50 or whatever out of off of Geek or something like that. So I'll just put there on there like that if you've never seen it. And then it literally just slots on the top there. Okay. Alright, but all that obviously all goes in that little pouch. Most of the pouches, as you well know, are made by Dave Fryers. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go out and have a look at his Etsy store. He's absolutely banged out with work, I think, at the moment, as usual, which is a good thing. He's sending stuff all over the world, and that's good to hear. So there's the I've also got the these little bent old pegs. What I do is I use that on if I use the Pathfinder system, then I've got those to use within the windshield. So I'll just stick those away. In there like so. And then that's generally all I keep in the front there. As I say, it's just the stove and the bottle of fuel. Just let my glasses on. And then that zips all the way there, nice and tidy. Then if I go into the other pouch at the top there, okay, this one at the front, what I've got in now, I've got a bag of pegs. I've literally bought some new pegs. I bought some of those MSR groundhogs, but these are the minis. And I was using them yesterday and they weren't very good. They're quite short. Nice pegs, very, very light because they're titanium, but they weren't very good in the ground because obviously they're too short and they were hard to they wouldn't sort of keep my shelter apart. But as I say, now I've got some pegs. I've got the old aluminium pegs in there as well. Some extra sort of guy lines just for extending out the putting out the, you know, depending on what shelter I'm using. And then also I've got some loops there because if I'm using the poncho or the survival sheet, the pegs don't tend to go through the eyelets, so you need something like this to add on to it. Alright, again goes into this nice little flat pouch here. Alright, then I've got my rapid deployment line there in a nice luminous green, and then it's got the Prusik loops on there, and then an orange one which I generally just use for attaching a light or even putting my mug on there. What I was going to show again, this was just a little guy line setup that I was going to show a tensioner. Keep an orange scarf in there as well because this is obviously a sort of a passive signal that you could put up if you're in an emergency situation. Alright, another saw, because not always that I'll take this out and all the rest of it. Sometimes I'll just use this is the little Pocket Boy by Silky, and I've got my my Leatherman multi-tool in there. Alright, and that all sits snug in there. It's always not a bad thing as well, folks, you know what I mean? If you're quite new to it as well, it's good to sort of you know, try and sort of work out your gear, that you keep it in a certain places, and that way you always know it's there, and it just makes out your own little system for you. You know, this system might not work for you, you know, but it works for me. Okay, so this, right, so in the first side pocket, okay, in here I've got I've just got my orange folder cup. Alright, oh, that needs to go back in as well. And I've got my bottle, an LG metal bottle, and then right at the bottom I've got the Pathfinder stainless steel mug. Alright, and then that fits in there lovely and snugly. Alright, so it literally just goes in there. The bottles need topping up because after yesterday, and then that's basically all I keep in there. Nothing else goes in there. Occasionally I might put my leather heat proof gloves in there. Alright, so that's in that one. Now in the one the other side, oh, what's happening here? Just move that out of the way. So in this one, let's take the saw out for a minute. let's put that there. So in this one, okay, I've got some char cloth tins, I've got my birch bark and stuff like that, because I still want to process some more birch bark. Okay, so I've literally got a fire lighting kit in there, okay, with some char cloth in there. Okay, these are my the birch goggles that I made the other week. All right. Then I've obviously got, this is just an old air pellet tin, punched through with a nail, okay, and it's an empty char cloth tin at the moment. This one's for punkwood normally, not that it matters, but that one's generally for punkwood. And then I've got another one there that I've got for char cloth, but they're generally both the same, it doesn't matter. Alright, so that's my char cloth tins. And then, as I say, I've got my birch oil, some duct tape, little sharpening slab there that I got from a friend of mine, Rob, Old Ways Bushcraft on Instagram, gifted that to me. We've done a couple of courses together, and then I've got, all I've got in there then is my birch, my little tin with the birch bark in, and then a second tin for obviously to collect in there. All right, so that's the side pockets. You know, I could leave them out now because I don't think we're going to get much snow. All right, so that's the side pockets. Now in the actual main pocket, okay, in the main bucket if you like of here, okay, because I've been using it the weekend, all right, I've got my brew kit's in there, okay, it's got all my coffees, teas, my lid to my to the Pathfinder cup, all right, it all sort of coincides with each other. I keep a little sort of a canoe spoon in there if you like, and that all packs away into that little bag nicely. Okay, got my heat-proof gloves. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll stick that over because I'm going to stack it on the floor. This is a little ground mat that I've got that Mr. Fryers has made. Now this is the I think I'm going to have a little I'm going to have a little play around with my gear as well, and maybe take a few bits out and leave some in there. But at the moment I've been playing around with this Boundless Voyage mess kit. As you can see, it's nice and, you know, carbon. As you well know, I'm not one for buying kit and not using it. So I've generally been using the main tin, and I'm loving it, really liking it. Nice and compact. Hoping that Dave Fryers is going to make a pouch for these, but he will in time. But he's just busy doing other stuff, as I say. Alright, so that's a great bit of kit. I mean, what I will do is I'll stick some links in the description if you want to go over and purchase stuff. Because I was burning some old tinder that I had in a bag yesterday, that was what was collected in here. But they're obviously good as a little bag for example. So what I have done, like what I used this on the hunter-gatherer, we had to butcher a deer. And then once I jerked my meat, rather than just sticking it into a plastic bag and letting it sweat and everything else, what I did do is I kind of left it in this bag, hung it up in my shelter, and then the smoke would come through and then it'd be quite nice. It would just keep the bacteria and everything away from the meat. Okay, but it's also good for obviously other little foraging projects as well. Another little flat pouch here that I've got is kind of my ration pouch that I'll take out for the day, and that's got porridge and, you know, stuff like that. I'll take a little packet of hankies because they're normally quite handy for just wiping out my frying pan and stuff like that. I do keep 2 handkerchiefs in my pockets, one in each pocket. Now, because it's something that I do every day, normally what I do is I carry in my left pocket, I normally carry a normal blow your nose handkerchief, and then in my right pocket I normally carry a handkerchief that I use for maybe wiping out some water out of my cups and stuff like that if I'm not drying them on the fire. And then if I want to, I'll literally hang that up, and it's a handkerchief dries quite quickly. All right, so I tend to use them. Continuing on then, okay, in no particular order, I've got my frying pan. This is my Life Systems plate, Life Venture plate, sorry, that I've been using, and I'm really liking it. Brilliant, it's really getting nice and seasoned now. I don't wash it with soap and water, I literally do just wipe it out, and it's been fine. I did a load of bacon in it yesterday, and it was good quality bacon actually, and nothing happened. I've got a little plastic plate there that sits inside there like so. And then I've got a little piece of leather that I can use for working on with my bottle of oil, titanium spork, my little spatula, and this is just one of those. This is just like a little. This is an Optimus one, but you can get like a Transient one that obviously will go on the edge of the pan just to use as a handle. Alright, so it's quite a nice compact little setup there. What I am going to do is I've got a lot of leather, so I'm going to make myself a slightly bigger bag so it encloses it all in a bit more. Alright, so that's my frying pan. So that's really pretty much my cook system, as it were. It's been working okay for me so far. Yeah, I've had, you know, I've got all sorts of frying pans and all the rest of it, but because I'm trying to go even more compact and lightweight, then this is obviously ticking the boxes at the moment. You know, still working on it, but it seems to be working okay so far. Now in this one is obviously my, it's not a possibles pouch, it more is just a kind of a tidy pouch. Okay, and in there I've got these lovely little organisers with my number 36 bank line. There's paracord in there, there's a mosquito head net, I've even got some Gorilla super glue in there, a little scout scarf, there's some artificial sinew, there's loads and loads of different bits in here. It's all the little bits of clutter that you might sort of, you know, that I don't really want to leave in my pockets because I might lose them. So if I can contain them in here when I'm crafting and stuff like that, this is normally the sort of little bag that I'll go to. Alright, and that comes out with me quite a lot anyway. That's always pretty much in my rucksack system that I'm carrying out with me. Then my other one is basically my this is my carving kit. It seems to be expanding quite a lot at the moment. I've literally just ordered two Scotch eye augers. I've ordered a 6mm and a 10mm because I'm going to be doing sort of, I'm hoping to do some quite more woodworking stuff when I'm out. And then I've obviously got all my carving tools in there, spoon, knife, you know, I've got my little plate there that I use for carving, pencils, some abranet and stuff like that, and that's all contained in that little pouch there. Okay. Now I've got my, that's the Pathfinder water bottle that I keep inside. Now I recently made this pouch, nothing special, it was just out a piece of upholstery leather. I didn't sort of muck around, the needle had a bit of white cotton on it, so that's what I used. And it literally is, because I might occasionally use this to boil water in, just for the sake of it, I'd like to just stick it in a little pouch there, like so, so it stops the carbon from obviously getting over everything else that's in your kit. And then I've added a little button toggle there, if you like, with a bit of paracord on there just to keep it in place. Alright. Then I've got, that's the Euro Hike folding barbecue, the grill, still using it, still a nice bit of kit. The only thing is, as I say, it's the weight, but it is quite compact. I mean, if I actually took this out and threw in one of my little throwdown grills, it's definitely lighter, but as I say, just sort of, you know, where I went yesterday, it just made it a little bit easier. And not only that, with the ground the way it was absolutely saturated. It was actually made it just a little bit easier to keep it dry, rather than putting a layer of sticks down and such like. And then that's one of the large throwdown grills that I've got, but that is remarkably lighter than that. Alright, but then again, you have to sort of weigh it up in your own, you know, make that decision what you want to do. Okay, but for me, obviously it's this. I'm liking this at the moment. Okay, so I'm just pulling out bits as I go. This is a little chopping board, okay, that was given to me by a chap from, again, across the pond. He gave me a nice box of gear, and this is one of the little chopping boards that he gave me. Brilliant little bit of kit that is. Then I'll get the other two pouches out down the bottom. Oh, there's actually 3 in there, there's not 2, so I do apologise. I should know. Right, okay, so this is obviously, stands to reason, this is my first aid kit. You know, I haven't got, you know, in there is stuff like plasters, antiseptic wipes, some cream and such like. It's all the stuff that I kind of betadine. I picked this up when I was out in Menorca, because we can't seem to get it over here, but I managed to get a nice bottle, a nice tube of it when I was out there the other year. So it's all sort of stuff that I, you know, that I can use on myself for if I injure myself. Okay. Then in here, what I was using this one for, again, this is what I was using just to keep a few projects together. So there were some toggles in there and pulleys. Alright, so I was just keeping them in there just to keep them tidy inside my bag. Okay, and then in there I've got another fire lighting kit. So it's got ferro rod, the X-Attack lighter cover, some Dragon Gels, lighter, and a few other bits and pieces in there, okay. Some homemade mini Infernos and stuff like that I've made. Alright, so I'll just leave that there. If that will stay there, it will stay. And then I've got, again, I bought out some extra bank line because I was going to be using it for projects. I didn't actually get around to doing the projects now. Everything's just covered in bank line, so I'm going to have to sort that out once I'm off the video. So I've got, I think that's the number 12 bank line, and this is the 36 stuff. Alright, but obviously now I need to sort it out. What I am going to do in a little video, just again another little segue, I was playing around, I watched an old Dave Canterbury's video, and he was basically showing you how to basically use just one of these. I don't know if you remember, I always remember from scouts and probably from the military and such, like when we used to put up big marquees and stuff, and used to have those braces that you used to use for tensioning up sort of guy lines and stuff like that. And basically what I was doing when I was mucking around making one, I actually thought the idea of actually making a sort of like a little paracord tidy as well. So it literally was just this was just something that I grabbed out of the shed, piece of hazel, I split it and then put 2 dowels in each one, and then made these little paracord little braces. I'm actually going to make a few more. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do a video, a little how-to on how to make them, if you're interested, folks. Yeah, so something nice and simple there, nice little shed projects, or you can do them out in the field as well. Alright, and then the last thing I've got in the bottom there is a garbage bag, rubbish bag, whatever. You know, I could potentially use this for, you know, cut an hole in it and where it's something waterproof, but ideally it's for using to either put rubbish in, or I could use it as a kind of dowse bag to put some leaf matter in and such like. Alright, and then that obviously don't take up no space, and that goes down the bottom. Alright, so there it is, folks. You know, it's kind of turned into a little bit of a kind of loadout video, but obviously, you know, if I was going out for any more length of time, then obviously I would be I mean, I take a shelter out all the time because I'll just practice all the time putting my shelter up using a ridge line, and so on and so forth. Okay, getting in, you know, sort of just practicing that muscle memory, if you like. And then on top of it, you know, if you are going on overnighters, what are you planning to do? Are you planning to sleep with just a blanket? Are you going to be using a sleeping bag and a mat? Are you going to be making yourself some kind of bed naturally from nature, as it were? You're going to use the woods to make sort of like a log bed and stuff like that. You know, these are all sort of things you need to take into consideration. Maybe when you're starting out, you might find that, you know, your experience and your knowledge is quite low, so you might end up carrying a lot more kit. And then obviously as your confidence and your knowledge and your experience and everything starts to boost up, then maybe you start dwindling down on kit, and then obviously taking from, you know, using what's in the woods and from nature to obviously utilise you know, your outdoor experience. All right, it's a bit like what old Mors Kansky said, was it? The more you know, the less you carry. The less you know, the more you carry. You know, something like that. So, so there it is, folks. So I always kind of try and it's a bit of my own personal thing now. After all these years, that I'm trying to obviously carry a little bit less and practice my skills more as well. So I'm pushing myself to obviously practice and learn more skills when I'm outside. Okay. So there it is, folks. All right, Chris, I hope this sort of answers your questions. It's probably quite a long-winded video, but there it is. All right, I hope it's answered some of your questions, and maybe it might have answered some other people's questions. I don't know, but that's just my sort of general mindset. This is unrehearsed. This is really just a video that I've come out into the shed and knocked it out because I wanted to answer Chris's question. All right, so thanks for watching. All right, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please, if you haven't already done so. Please stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video, folks. Take care. See you later.